How are we going, everybody? I've been cleaning out here in the garden today. I've been collecting stinging nettle. A lot of people class it as a weed. I class it as a plant doctor for the environment, for the ground, and for ourselves. This is the area. So I was going to plant, look, I might still plant out here. I was going to plant this with all shade-loving plants. I've still got some hostas there. You can see they're just coming back up. The other ones have died back because of the cold winter, and hopefully they'll come back up again so the roots stay alive. The orchids are sort of on and off. Really, this is a neglected area. I mean, as you can appreciate, we're on 20 acres, and trying to get to every place on time every time doesn't happen. But what you're seeing here on the ground, I've been doing the weeding, and these are the remnants of the stinging nettle. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards because I've harvested that already. We spoke about stinging nettle in the past. I use it for stimulating the blood flow in my hands, in my body. Not all over my body, actually hit it on my hands front and back. And after, when I finish, you can't see the colour now, but earlier on when I did do it, it was bright red, rich red in colour, and that means the blood was flowing through, and I can feel a real sensation through it. It's always like pins and needles going through the hand, because that's because of the fine needles on this plant. You can't see them, but you can certainly feel them. So folks, look, if you haven't experienced stinging nettle before, and you think I'm joking about how strong a stinger can leave on your hands, this is what it looks like. I want you to have a close look at this plant. This is wilted now, but it almost looks like parsley, but the serrated edge leaf there, see that there? You get a lot of leaves like that, and all the little buds that are coming up now. The idea is to harvest it before it flowers for two reasons. One, you don't get seeds falling back in the ground and it populating the garden again. Two, because it hardens off the plant, it makes it all that more difficult to harvest and enjoy. So we pulled it all out, so it's still in bud stage, and I've got two big rubbish bags full of it. Now, the stinging nettle in, well, can I say ancient times? In the past it was used, and I think they used to call them witch doctors, or medical doctors, whatever they were, sort of, you know, herbalists, whatever medieval name they used to have back then. They used this to stimulate the blood flow, and they would tap it on the joints, on the elbows, on the wrists, on the shoulders. If they had inflammation or burning or sort of pains going on, not inflammation or pains, that would create blood flow. So that would actually stimulate more blood flow. So when you get the blood flow through your joints and bodies, it actually relieves you of that tension. Now, this little finger here, this is my ring finger. If you can't see it, you can see that little lump there? I'll show you the other hand. You can see the two? See that one there's got a bit of a lump there. I'm not sure if you can notice it or not. Well, by comparison, these two, this one here was wrapped around with the dog lead or leash, and I took Cara for a walk. We went to a farmer's market when once upon a time we were allowed to go out, right? And then she saw another dog, and not a human, but another dog. And as Cara is, the beast, she decided to go off. And I'm talking to a young man about plants and vegetables and herbs, and she took my hand with it, and it happened to wrap itself around my ring finger, and I had to, with all my mighty strength, pull her back. She's a good 50 kilos, and with her full strength, it feels like 200 kilos in pull. And it choked my finger, and it really dislodged it. Now, I haven't been to the doctors, and all I've done was this, continuously. Now, when it gets really cold, the pain is excruciating in the cold weather, but with a little bit of a sting, it heats it up and the pain goes away. This is my experiences. And now another person in my life, that's my wife, who in the past, and I'm sharing something a bit private here, but she had leukemia about 10 to 12 years ago. I think maybe a bit more. She was on the brink of extinction, putting it politely. The doctor said there's no hope, no chance in hell of her surviving. Well, she did survive, but after the survival and all the experiences that we went through to get her back to good health, and that's eating all clean foods, you know, it was a combination of medicine, we call it medicine, or chemicals pumped through her body, and healthy eating is where we were able to save her. So they gave her almost zero chance of survival, but she's here today. But the problem she's having at the moment is some cold days, her fingers would turn stark white. So from here on down, it will be rich red, and from here up, completely white. It's as if you've basically turned off the shut-off valve, shut it down, and no blood flow will get there. And when that happens, sometimes her fingers lock up to the point where she's in excruciating pain. She can't bear it. We come out here We've got other little areas because we've taken all the stinging nettle out of here, but we would come out here and brush her hands and my hands at the same time, and within minutes the blood flow is coming through again. So that's stinging nettle, the plant doctor. When I started this little segment before, folks, I wasn't even planning on talking about this. This is how I go into I divert into different topics. Anyway, stinging nettle is good for the external body and internal body. And the topic here today, apart from that, is my casuarinas over here. Have a look at them. Cousin It, come along. Have a look at these rabbit holes. Have a look at them. It doesn't matter how many times I fill them up, they open them up again. I've even chucked stinging nettle in there. Even that doesn't deter them. Well, we've got to live with them. And there's a few little babies around here at the moment, a little bit too small to catch, so we're just going to wait for them to plump up a little bit. And we're going to have rabbit stew. Have you ever had rabbit stew? One day I'll share it with you. But for now, these cousin It's here, have a look at these. When I came out here this morning to collect the stinging nettle, I came across these two. Well, I knew they were here, and please ignore the weeds in the background. This is one section that we haven't cleaned yet. We're going to get onto this one. This is the next phase of our cleaning. So we've done a lot of weeding. We'll get to that, but look at this here. What I've noticed here this morning, and if I could pick all this up from the ground, all this was inside my casuarina. These are beautiful weeping plants, and if I could show you inside, there's the weep on it. These are grafted on top on a long rootstock, and they've got a beautiful weep on it. Now this one here started to thin out and was showing a lot of brown wood, or dieback. I call it, dead wood. The needles, that is. There was a lot in here, and I started to clean all this out, and you've got to do that with all sorts of plants. When we talk about healthy plants, it's not just about the root system, what goes on in the earth. That's vital because that's the foundation of every plant that lives. It's also the above ground. I've seen people pruning plants sometimes, with all due respect, they're giving it a go, but if they haven't been trained or shown a right way or a better way, they don't really get into the meat and potatoes of the plant. When you've got to clean the plant out, you've got to look inside the center of it. Like a tree. Let's take a tree, for example. You want to open up the vase shape. You want to get the airflow through the middle so it breathes well. Because when there's lack of airflow, there's always the opportunity of disease developing and insects harvesting and nesting in there. And the same with these plants here. When you've got this, like your conifers or your pine trees, have a look at behind me. We've got some dead wood here. That's all got to get cut out too. These are Italian stone pines. This one's fallen over. I love it. It's a beautiful plant. If you come over here, have a look at that. See, that's leaning over there. It's been wedged up with a few rocks there, but we've worked everything around the fallen tree itself. So it's very much alive, still producing. We've got some new growth and we've got some peppercorns growing in between, which are great, but we've got to clean it out now. It's starting to suffocate and it's self-destructing. And if you don't prune out your plants, this is the other part about that. Beautiful weep over the top here from the pine tree, but it's sitting too close to this one. See this here? I've got to cut that off there. It's not just about these type of plants, it's any plant. Have you noticed when your plants are, if you've got plants sitting along the boundary line of a fence on your property and you want to create a hedge, and the side that you're facing that you can see towards is always luscious green, but then if you go close to your plant and look where it's against the fence line, it's always a bit woody, more woody, maybe not even any foliage on it as well. That's because there's no airflow or sunlight getting there. The same scenario here, just this little distance here, all the needles are falling in here, wedging themselves inside, and it's causing it to dehydrate and die off. So we've got to separate, create a bit more space between the two for better airflow and sunlight. See this? Have a look at that. This is the other one. Now this one here hasn't got the overhead. It's creeping in on it. It's much lush, much denser, let's say, more lush, full. It looks great on the outside, but again, the hidden problem. Come around here. This is the hidden problem. Now, this will be okay for a while, could be a year, 2 years, 5 years, but over time, all this will suffocate the plant. It needs to come out. In nature, they're not grafted on a rootstock like this tall. See that? It's got the graft on there. Out in the wild, they grow like this. Mind the weeds, they grow on the ground. And yes, they are closer to the ground and they trail across. See that dead spreading? Underneath, a little bit dead, but nowhere near as many needles or dry needles as this one here. So pine trees get canker So do the casuarinas. They can develop that, and it's the lack of airflow. It could kill it off. You've got to take all this out. You know, once upon a time in my past life, I was a landscaper. I did a lot of landscaping. I'd like to think I did a great job too. But we were a jack of all trades. Plumbers, electricians, you know, low voltage stuff, lights, brickwork, concreters, and now I'm a hairdresser. Didn't realise I had to be a hairdresser too. Well, the fact is that we prune plants, so we've got to prune them to shape. So you got to have the jack of all trades going. So as a gardener, it's not just about digging holes, and it's not just about turning the irrigation on or the tap on and watering the plant, or learning how to do this. And it's called fertilising. Throwing your hand around like that. Yeah, I'm not going there. Don't worry about that. It's the action that I'm talking about. It's also the cleaning of the plants. You've got to get in there. Look how dense that is in there. All right? That's okay for now. But once you see that starting to creep through the surface like this, see that? There's the sign there. That's what you see. If that starts to happen, you've got to get in there and start cleaning this out, get the airflow back. It'll tolerate it for only so long. You remember my mother's lemon tree or orange tree, whatever it is? It was so dense in the middle, wasn't getting any sunlight, and it was dry wood in the middle. We cut that back and cleaned it out. You should go and see it. We should go and visit it when we can, and I'll show you how luscious green it is now. And that's the same with any other plant, like your fruit trees. Not enough airflow. Aphids will get in there, especially this time of the year. They'll get into it. Your roses, if you don't thin them out properly and they're still dense and the new foliage comes in, it's a perfect environment for pests to get in there, disease to develop. So it's not just about this plant. This is the topic about aeration. So get in there, clean out your plants, whether you're doing it by your hand like this, pulling it out, or whether you're using secateurs or a lopper or a chainsaw. You need to prune your plants to give them a better structure, more air, sunlight, airflow, and all things like that. Hedging is important too, but sometimes it's good to open up the hedge inside and see what's going on, because you may have a beautiful lush green exterior on your hedge, but it's only so thick in foliage, and then from there back inside, because it's so dense, it's just dry wood, and that is not a good thing either. So you need to get in there sometimes, and whether it's yearly, every second year, or every 5 years that you do it, it needs to be done. Otherwise, don't prune it at all. Let it be with nature, and let nature take its toll on your plant. And if it doesn't go well for you, can't say that I didn't tell you, didn't warn you about it. No, I haven't finished, folks, but I'm just going to say to you this. It's 2 days to go, today and tomorrow, and the Get Ready for Spring sale is going to finish, so that up to 70% off is going to end for you. So if you haven't got your product yet, get your orders in to enjoy some great discounts for fantastic products for you to use in your garden. And Black Grid, well, we've got it down to 80% off, up to 80%. We've dropped the price on some of the sizes for you. They're the best prices you'll ever get. It's only 2 days to go, so put your orders in and get ready for spring. And we've got our favourite 4-pack now available. They're 4 tomato varieties and the rainbow variety as well, rainbow blend, which are 4 or 5 different heirloom. So you've got black Russian, yellow, orange and typical red tomatoes in the packet itself. Check it all out on vasilisgarden.com. And the magazine, last but not least, the VIP. Subscribe today or by the end of August and you get your first magazine delivered to your door, and you get up to 30, well, you get 30 reward points added back into your account, so you can spend it any time in the future when you go shopping online again. That's vasilisgarden.com. Take advantage of the specials. Until next time, from me, Vasily, Madesi.